Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. I'm Utsaf Parekh and here are the top stories of the day. A senior Iranian official was killed in an Israeli airstrike yesterday after rockets struck the outskirts of the Syrian capital Damascus. The Iranian general Saeed Razi Mousavi was responsible for coordinating the military alliance between Syria and Iran. Following this, Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi has issued a warning to Israel. He said Israel will certainly pay for the killing of Mousavi. Israeli strikes added to the death toll in Gaza after overnight attacks on Christmas night. In Khan Yunis, injured Gazans were rushed to the hospital. Gaza's health ministry said that 250 Palestinians were killed and 500 were wounded in the past 24 hours, making it one of the deadliest nights of the 11-week-old war. The Israeli army claimed that they have recovered a vehicle belonging to one of the hostages taken by Hamas during the October 7th attack. The army released a video which showed a white Toyota Corolla parked in a shed near the Indonesian hospital in Gaza. The Israeli military says the car belonged to one of the 3 hostages who were mistakenly shot dead by Israeli soldiers earlier this month. The car was parked beside a Toyota truck, which the army said was used by Hamas during the October 7th attack. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said that he met with soldiers in northern Gaza yesterday. Netanyahu spoke with soldiers and commanders and pledged to continue the fight until the end. He said, and I quote, "Whoever talks about stopping, there is no such thing." However, back in the Israeli Knesset, Netanyahu was heckled by families of people taken hostage by Hamas. Members sat in the chamber holding posters of their relatives and intermittently interrupted Netanyahu. Meanwhile, Israeli Defence Minister Yoav Gallant reiterated his warnings against the Lebanon-based Hezbollah group. Gallant said, and I quote, "What we did in Gaza can also be done in Beirut." Since the war in Gaza began, there have been near daily clashes between Hezbollah and Israeli forces. The two sides have been exchanging fire along the Lebanon-Israel border. Pope Francis delivered his Christmas message yesterday. The 87-year-old Pope called for an end to conflicts in places including Gaza, Ukraine, Armenia and Azerbaijan. Referring to the Israel-Gaza war, the Pope said that the children dying in war are, and I quote, "the little Jesuses of today." He added that the Israeli strikes in Gaza were reaping an appalling harvest of innocent civilians. Hundreds of protesters gathered in the streets of New York yesterday. They were calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The demonstrators brandished flags and displayed various signs advocating for a ceasefire. One of the placards read, "All I want for Christmas is a ceasefire now." The New York Police Department said that several individuals were taken into custody during the protests. The US military carried out airstrikes on 3 facilities used by the Iraq-based Kataib Hezbollah and affiliated groups last night. This came after an attack injured 3 US troops, leaving 1 in critical condition. Earlier, the Iran-backed militant group had claimed responsibility for the attack on the American soldiers. Iran-aligned groups in Iraq and Syria oppose Israel's campaign in Gaza. They hold the US partly responsible for Israel's actions in the enclave. Iran has denied the US claim that Tehran struck a chemical tanker in the Indian Ocean. Iran's foreign ministry said, and I quote, "We consider these claims completely worthless." It added that the US should instead face accusations for its role in Israel's strikes in Gaza. On Saturday, a drone struck a chemical tanker in the Indian Ocean. The Pentagon had blamed Iran for the attack. Meanwhile, the Iranian Foreign Ministry has said that it is working on improving the country's ties with Egypt. The ministry said that Iran and Egypt have embarked on a good path towards constructive relations through dialogue and communication. Last week, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and his Egyptian counterpart Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held a phone conversation. They discussed the ties between the two countries as well as the situation in the Gaza Strip. Russian Defence Minister Sergei Shoigu said that Moscow has gained full control of the eastern Ukrainian town of Mariinka. The minister informed Russian President Vladimir Putin of the capture of what has now become a ghost town. Shoigu added that it was Russia's first major success since the capture of the strategic city of Bakhmut in May. However, the Ukrainian military has denied Russia's claims. Jailed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has been located at a remote penal colony above the Arctic Circle. This comes weeks after being reported missing within Russia's prison system. Navalny's spokesperson said he'd been tracked to a prison called the Polar Wolf. It is located more than 3,000 kilometers northeast of Moscow. Navalny is among the highest-profile political figures opposing Russian President Vladimir Putin. The death toll in the weekend attacks in the central Nigerian state of Plateau has risen to at least 160. This is a steep escalation from a previously reported death toll of just 16. It comes after clashes broke out between herders and farmers over the weekend. The recent clashes are the worst outbreak of violence in Plateau since May, when more than 100 people were killed in farmer-herder attacks. A plane carrying hundreds of Indian passengers that was grounded in France has now landed in India. The aircraft carrying 276 Indian passengers landed in Mumbai early this morning. Last week, the flight was grounded for 4 days amid a probe into possible human trafficking. In climate news, a massive winter storm dumped freezing rain and several inches of snow in the central plains of the United States. Blizzard conditions were seen from South Dakota to Nebraska. The storm threatened holiday travelers with delays and dangerous road conditions. Authorities warned local residents of reduced visibility and whiteout conditions on the road. Over 1.1 million people were under blizzard warnings. Christmas night thunderstorms and strong winds cut power to over 100,000 homes in eastern Australia. The storm downed power lines in Brisbane and the Gold Coast area. One person was killed after the storm toppled a tree. Severe thunderstorms with damaging wind gusts, large hail and heavy rainfall were forecast for Tuesday. Several cities across northern India were shrouded in a thick layer of fog. India's capital New Delhi, the city of Amritsar in Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir Srinagar have a heavily reduced visibility. The Indian Meteorological Department says dense fog is likely to persist over parts of northwest and central India over the next 3 to 4 days. Intense rainfall caused flooding in Thailand's deep south, leaving tens of thousands of people affected. Officials say the heavy rain also forced the closure of some roads and railway lines. At least a dozen schools in the provinces of Yala and Narathiwat were shut. Videos show homes and shops inundated with murky brown water. Rain also caused problems at sea, with at least 7 boats sunk in the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea. Experts say China, which is grappling with one of its coldest Decembers on record, will likely have to brace for another round of scorching heat and an increase in extreme weather in 2024. This is due to the El Niño weather phenomenon. This year has seen China lurch from some of its hottest temperatures logged since 1850 to a harsh cold snap that froze many parts of the country for close to a fortnight earlier this month. On to business and tech news. Toyota's small car unit Daihatsu will compensate 423 Japanese suppliers with which it has direct business relations. The company will consider compensating suppliers based on past business volumes. This comes as its plants in Japan remain idle due to a safety scandal. Daihatsu has halted production in Japan until the end of next month. Major Japanese auto manufacturers will invest more than $4 billion in Thailand over the next 5 years. This is according to the Thai government. Toyota and Honda will invest about $1.4 billion each. Meanwhile, Mitsubishi Motors will put in more than $500 million. This will support the Southeast Asian country's transition to electric vehicles. Samsung Electronics has reportedly delayed mass production plans in its new chip plant in the US. Reports say mass production at the upcoming $17 billion factory will now begin in 2025. Samsung had previously said the factory would start production in the second half of 2024. This deals a major blow to US President Joe Biden, who plans to boost chip production on American soil. China will provide consular protection and assistance to 2 India-based Chinese employees of smartphone maker Vivo. Last week, India's financial crime fighting agency arrested 2 senior employees of Vivo's India unit. This is over an alleged case of money laundering. Vivo plans to challenge India's decision legally. Meanwhile, China has urged India not to discriminate against Chinese companies. China has approved 105 domestic games, softening its stance on the online gaming sector. Last week, the country proposed curbs to tighten restrictions on the gaming market. It rekindled fears that China would start another round of tech crackdowns, leading to an $80 billion rout in the gaming industry. Reports say the completion of Yandex's restructuring is expected to be postponed until early 2024. The Russian tech company, often referred to as Russia's Google, was a company with the potential to become a global business. That is until Russia sent its troops to Ukraine, which led to Western nations sanctioning Moscow. For more than a year, Yandex and the Kremlin have been engaged in negotiations to try to spin off Yandex's Russian businesses from its Dutch parent company Yandex NV. Moving to sports, let's start with cricket. New Zealand will host Bangladesh for 3 T20 matches. The first game will be played tomorrow in McLean Park. Last week, the 2 teams faced each other in a 3-match ODI series. New Zealand won that series 2-1. Batter David Warner has become the second highest run scorer for Australia in international cricket. Warner achieved this milestone during a Boxing Day Test match against Pakistan. Warner has now scored over 18,500 runs. He trails only Ricky Ponting, who scored over 27,000 runs in his international career. Indian spinner Ravichandran Ashwin is 11 wickets away from entering the elite club of 500 Test wicket takers. Ashwin will be seen playing for India against South Africa in a Boxing Day Test match. If Ashwin achieves the milestone, he will become the second Indian bowler after Anil Kumble to take 500 wickets in Tests. The Afghanistan Cricket Board has imposed sanctions on Mujibur Rahman, Naveen-ul Haq and Fazal Haq Farooqi. This comes after the 3 cricketers opted out of the national team and gave priority to play franchise cricket. Now the 3 Afghan players will not be eligible for national contracts for up to 1 year. In football, FIFA has threatened to ban Brazil from international competitions. This includes the men and women's national teams and clubs. FIFA says the suspension would happen if Brazil holds swift elections to replace the football body's president. FIFA added that any political meddling would result in an instant ban of Brazilian teams. Liverpool striker Mo Salah took to social media on Christmas Day to spread a message for peace in Gaza. Salah says that he shares the pain of Palestinians. He further urged his fans to speak up for a ceasefire and not to get used to seeing the suffering in Gaza. Salah's message for peace was widely appreciated on social media. In tennis, world number 1 Novak Djokovic will take to the court for the final time this year. He will play in a friendly exhibition match against world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz. The exhibition match will be played in Saudi Arabia's capital Riyadh tomorrow. In basketball, reigning champions Denver Nuggets beat the Golden State Warriors last night. The Nuggets won the game with a final score of 120 to 114. Jamal Murray scored 28 points for the Nuggets. Denver defense did not allow Golden State Warriors Steph Curry to shoot three-pointers and restricted him to just 18 points. The Boston Celtics beat rivals the Los Angeles Lakers 126-115 last night. Jason Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis both scored over 25 points for the Celtics. Despite Anthony Davis scoring 40 points, the Lakers failed to seal the win. Russian and Belarusian equestrian athletes will not be allowed to take part in the Paris 2024 Olympics. The equestrian body says that even if the athletes are neutrals, they will not be given a platform to compete. The ruling comes in contradiction to the International Olympic Committee, which allowed Russian and Belarusian athletes to compete as neutrals. In entertainment news, the UK's King Charles and his wife Queen Camilla attended a Christmas church service in Sandringham in eastern England. This is where the royal family traditionally spends the holiday at their country estate. They were accompanied by the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Catherine, and their 3 children. Later, the British monarch gave a Christmas message from Buckingham Palace. Pop icon Taylor Swift walked into Arrowhead Stadium alongside Santa Claus to watch her boyfriend and Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce. The Kansas City Chiefs played the Las Vegas Raiders in a Christmas Day showdown. Swift has been appearing at Kelce's games since they began dating early in the season. The Bachelor star and former Olympian Marlena Wesch announced her engagement and plans to marry now fiancé Tommaso Martelli. Wesch, who appeared on The Bachelor's 26th season, made the announcement on social media on Christmas Day. Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker shared photos of their baby son Rocky for the first time. The reality star and the Blink-182 drummer posted 5 photos of their new family member, who was reportedly born in November. The couple, however, opted out of showing their baby's face for now. Television, movie and voice actor Kamar de los Reyes passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 56. According to the family, he died following a brief battle with cancer. De los Reyes was best known for playing a gang member turned cop in the soap One Life to Live and a villain in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. The actor also recently shot roles in Marvel's upcoming Daredevil series and Hulu's yet-to-be-released Washington Black. That's all for this episode of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to First Post.